The time has come to pass school choice for Americans' children.
So on the campaign trail, Trump didn't talk much about K-12 policy, but when he did, he talked about school choice. And Betsy DeVos is a longtime school choice advocate.
Well, I believe that the family, that parents are the primary educator for their child or their children. And we have, to a large extent, removed a lot of that ability to direct and control by forcing way too many families to assigned schools based on where they live.
Now, the proposal that I brought forth on education ends all private charter schools in this country.
If I'm president, Betsy DeVos's whole notion from charter schools to this are gone.
We don't have the same choice that you make for your kids, because I read that your children went to private school. But we even if it was public school, it probably was the best too. I can't pack up and say I'm leaving Hyde Park and going to Germantown, that's our suburban area, because I can't afford it. My daughter can't afford it. I understand. So we want to make what we got great, whether it's charter or tradition. And really, public schools are charter in where I come from, and we make parents know that charter schools are public schools too.
So let me just say, I appreciate nothing more than how much you care about your children and your grandchildren and getting them educated. And that's all I want.
Go back and read it, please. And I promise you, next time you see me, if it's reading the way it's going to benefit our children.
I'm not going to promise. I'll go back and read it.
Don't read it, but just read it.
What steps did Donald Trump take to expand school choice during his presidency? Education has always been a key component of individual success and societal progress. Recognizing this, President Trump made significant strides to expand school choice during his tenure. He believed that every child, regardless of their economic background or the neighborhood they live in, should have access to quality education. Firstly, President Trump called on Congress to pass school choice legislation. This was an appeal for bipartisan support to broaden educational opportunities for all American children, particularly those residing in inner cities. The goal was to ensure that every child had access to a learning environment that best suited their unique needs. In his fiscal year 2020 budget, President Trump earmarked $500 million for school choice. This substantial allocation of funds was a clear demonstration of his commitment to providing parents and students with more educational options. The hope was to create a more equitable and effective education system, where funds follow the student, not the school district. But the push for school choice didn't stop there. President Trump went on to sign the Education Freedom Scholarships and Opportunity Act. This groundbreaking legislation aimed to offer federal tax credits to individuals and businesses that donate to scholarship-granting organizations. These scholarships could then be used by students to attend private schools, out-of-district public schools, or even for homeschooling expenses. These initiatives under President Trump's administration marked a significant shift in the American education landscape. They aim to dismantle the one-size-fits-all model of education and replace it with a more tailored, student-centric approach. The goal was to provide parents with greater control over their children's education. It was about giving them the power to choose the best learning environment for their kids, whether that be a traditional public school, a charter school, a private school, or even homeschooling. These policies were designed to give parents greater control over their children's education and to provide better learning environments for students. They reflected a belief that every child deserves access to a high-quality education, and that parents should be the ones to decide what that looks like.
Perhaps most important, education has the power to create greater equality and justice in our lives. That's why today I'm thrilled to be signing an executive order to recognize the importance of historically black college and universities. Very important. They have played such an important role in achieving progress for African Americans and in our nation's march for justice. HBCUs have been really pillars of the African American community for more than 150 years. Amazing job. And a grand and enduring symbol of America at its absolute best, and I congratulate you all.
How did Donald Trump contribute to the financial health of historically black colleges and universities during his term? One of the most significant steps taken by President Trump was the increase in funding for historically black colleges and universities by 14%. This substantial increase not only demonstrated a commitment to HBCUs, but also directly impacted the quality of education provided by these institutions. But his support didn't stop there. The Trump administration provided more than $500 million in loans to HBCUs through the Capital Financing Program. This program is designed to provide low-cost capital to finance improvements to the infrastructure of the nation's historically black colleges and universities. The goal is to ensure that these vital institutions have the modern, safe, and efficient facilities needed to provide a high-quality education to their students. In addition to the increased funding and loans, President Trump signed the Future Act into law. This particular act permanently funds HBCUs and simplifies the FAFSA application, making it easier for students to apply for financial aid. It's a win-win situation for both the institutions and their students. And let's not forget about the forgiveness of more than $300 million in debt owed by 4 HBCUs impacted by natural disasters. This unprecedented move offered much-needed relief to these institutions, allowing them to focus on their primary mission, education, rather than grappling with financial burdens. Lastly, under President Trump, the ban on Pell Grants for summer classes was lifted. This decision opened up more opportunities for students to accelerate their studies and graduate on time. These actions taken by President Trump undeniably contributed to strengthening historically black colleges and universities. With increased funding, loans, and legislative support, HBCUs were better equipped to continue their vital role of providing quality education to black Americans. These actions were aimed at strengthening HBCUs, which play a vital role in providing quality education to black Americans.
A great-grandmother gets a second chance at freedom after President Trump commutes her life sentence. Alice Marie Johnson served 21 years for a nonviolent first-time drug charge, but a serious charge of drug trafficking and money laundering. Her story caught the eye of Kim Kardashian West, who made a personal plea for the release to President Trump last week. Johnson shared an emotional reunion with her family after walking out of an Alabama prison yesterday.
They are the folks who had been lobbying for this pardon for years now. Johnson was the first African-American heavyweight champ. And in what was seen by many as a racial injustice, Johnson was convicted of a crime back in 1913. That crime was transporting a white woman across state lines. He died in 1946. Senator John McCain, former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid had also been pushing Johnson's case for years. But again, President Trump has posthumously pardoned Jack Johnson.
How significant do you think this is? By the way, one of your partners in working on this was Jared Kushner.
Jared Kushner, whose father went to prison and whose fought on this as hard as that. This is history. This is history. Right now, you're witnessing history on the floor of the U.S. Senate, where there is a Christmas miracle underway, where for the first time in a generation, Republicans and Democrats are arm in arm tonight saying, we are sending too many people to prison. They're coming out bitter and not better. We want to make a tremendous difference. I want to say Hakeem Jeffries on the left, Jared Kushner, and Donald Trump on the right have brought together a coalition like I've never seen.
What did Donald Trump do to reform the criminal justice system, and how did it affect black Americans? President Trump took a significant leap towards criminal justice reform with the signing of the historic First Step Act into law. This act is a shining example of progress, as it has been instrumental in reducing mandatory minimum sentences for nonviolent drug crimes. This shortening of sentences has had a profound effect on Black Americans, as 90% of those who have benefited from these reduced sentences are from this community. The First Step Act not only shortened sentences, but also allowed offenders sentenced under racially motivated mandatory minimums to petition for revaluation. This provision is a tremendous step forward in rectifying past injustices and heralds a new era of fairness and equality in our justice system. But the reforms didn't stop there. President Trump also launched the Ready to Work initiative, further aiding in the rehabilitation of released prisoners. This initiative is a bridge to meaningful employment and a more stable life post-incarceration, offering a second chance to those who have paid their dues to society. Looking forward, President Trump has proposed the Second Step Act. This act aims to partner with corporate America to create opportunities for former prisoners to rejoin society. It's a testament to the commitment towards not just punishing crime, but also rehabilitating the individuals behind the crimes and providing them with a chance to rebuild their lives. In essence, the criminal justice reforms under President Trump's leadership were not about retribution, but about redemption and reintegration. They were about acknowledging the racially motivated injustices of the past and working towards a fairer, more equitable future. These reforms were intended to rectify racially motivated injustices in the criminal justice system and to provide offenders with better opportunities for rehabilitation and reintegration into society. A society where everyone, regardless of their past, has a chance to contribute positively and live the American dream.
The economy is doing absolutely great, and it's particularly reaching into populations that heretofore have had very bad problems in terms of jobs, unemployment, and the opportunities that come with full employment. So African American unemployment is at its lowest level. I give President Trump, and I've said this before on Squawk Box, I give President a lot of credit for moving the economy in a positive direction that's benefiting a large number of Americans.
The music industry into the 21st century. He signed the Music Modernization Act, legalizing the landmark copyright reform for songwriters. The goal is to ensure songwriters receive pay for the products that they produce when you're listening to them on streaming services.
How did Donald Trump's economic policies benefit Black Americans? This question leads us to a discussion on the significant strides made in economic growth and employment rates among Black Americans during President Trump's tenure. During his presidency, Black Americans witnessed unprecedented levels of economic success. Record low unemployment rates were recorded among Black Americans, and this was no mere coincidence. The administration's policies played a vital role in this economic turnaround. One of the significant achievements was the creation of over 1.4 million jobs for Black Americans between President Trump's election and February 2020. This increase in job opportunities was a direct result of the administration's commitment to fostering a more inclusive economy, where every American, regardless of race, has a fair shot at the American dream. But the economic success did not stop there. President Trump designated a staggering 8,760 opportunity zones. These zones are projected to spur an impressive $100 billion in private investment. These opportunity zones were specifically designed to foster economic revitalization, offering tax incentives for businesses to invest and create jobs in distressed communities. In addition to these opportunity zones, the Trump administration established a fund to deploy a substantial $1 billion in capital funding for minority-owned businesses. This initiative was implemented through the Commerce Department, with the goal of stimulating economic growth and creating more job opportunities in minority communities. These economic policies were not just about numbers and statistics. They were about real people, real lives, and real opportunities. They were about giving Black Americans the tools and opportunities they need to succeed. In conclusion, President Trump's economic policies were instrumental in providing Black Americans with a more prosperous and inclusive economy. From record low unemployment rates to the creation of millions of jobs and billions of dollars in private investment, these policies have left a lasting impact on the economic landscape for Black Americans. These policies were designed to boost economic growth and prosperity among Black Americans, providing them with more opportunities to achieve the American dream. So, what did Donald Trump do for Black Americans during his presidency? We've journeyed through a series of transformative policies and initiatives, and it's clear that the impact has been substantial. Let's recap. We started with the expansion of school choice. The Trump administration took significant strides to ensure that every child, regardless of their zip code, had access to quality education. With the proposal of the Education Freedom Scholarships and Opportunity Act and a call for $500 million in federal funding for school choice, opportunities for quality education were broadened, particularly for children in the inner cities. Next, we delved into the increase in funding for historically Black colleges and universities. An additional 14% investment, more than $500 million in loans through the Capital Financing Program, and the forgiveness of over $300 million in debt owed by HBCUs impacted by natural disasters. These were all part of Trump's commitment to ensuring these institutions' continued growth and development. Our journey then led us to the historic First Step Act. This piece of legislation was a monumental stride towards criminal justice reform, reducing mandatory minimum sentences for nonviolent drug crimes and allowing those sentenced under racially motivated minimums to petition for reevaluation. 90% of those who benefited from reduced sentences were Black Americans. Finally, we explored the economic success and opportunity zones under Trump's administration. With record low unemployment rates, more jobs, higher incomes, and the establishment of thousands of opportunity zones projected to spur $100 billion in private investment, the landscape for economic success for Black Americans experienced a significant shift. These initiatives were part of Donald Trump's broader efforts to create a more inclusive economy and society for Black Americans during his presidency. The strides taken in these four key areas have undeniably left a lasting impact, paving the way for a future where the American dream is within reach for all.